Hey, it's Michael from Corona POS. I'm here today to touch on an industry we haven't talked a whole lot about, but one that, as we all know, is gaining a lot of momentum. Cannabis. The medical and recreational marijuana business is booming across the country. In every legal state, entrepreneurs are trying to get cultivation operations, cannabis products, and dispensaries in motion. But the barrier to entry is difficult to hurdle, with licensing, real estate, and financing requiring significant capital and political know-how, all factors in this process. Because of this, many of the opportunities for lucrative cannabis enterprises have gone to big money corporate-backed ventures. An overwhelming majority of these cannabis companies are owned and operated by white men with business backgrounds and vast connections. In fact, although African Americans make up 15% of the US population, they own less than 2% of the country's dispensaries and other cannabis-related businesses. In an effort to make the industry fairer, especially considering how disproportionately the war on drugs affected African American individuals, some states and locales have introduced social equity programs into their marijuana policies. But what do these policies actually do? How do they help? And how does it impact your efforts to open a dispensary? So check out the rest of this video to learn more about true social equity in cannabis. Let's start by defining exactly what social equity in cannabis means. It's a relatively new term in a relatively new industry. In general, social equity refers to a focus on justice and redistribution throughout social policy and reforms. It differs from equality in that it isn't focused on everyone receiving the same treatment. Instead, it acknowledges that different individuals and communities have specific historical circumstances and current disadvantages. Therefore, advocates for social equity recommend structurally increasing opportunities and resources in order to reach a more equal reality. Marijuana policy and the marijuana industry as a whole are great examples of the need for social equity programs. Historically, African Americans and Latinos were, and still are, disproportionately affected by the war on drugs. Black people are almost 4 times as likely to be arrested for marijuana offenses as their white counterparts, despite similar consumption rates. People of color have always been unfairly policed and incarcerated in the US, especially for drug-related offenses. The first order of business to start the rectification process is to drop charges, expunge, and release any prisoners for marijuana-related offenses. Next, to bring about more social equity and justice in the light of decriminalization and marketization, these folks, as well as other underserved Americans, should be given greater access to licensing, startup funding, expedited application processes, waived fees, and technical assistance. Ultimately, the goal is to increase the number of cannabis businesses owned and operated by people of color. The cannabis industry is leading this charge and setting an example for other industries that many argue should follow suit. While social equity programs aren't found in all states that have legalized cannabis, they've still made a significant splash. As of the spring of 2022, 15 of the 37 states with cannabis programs have implemented social equity programs. Recreational states include Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Michigan, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Nevada, Virginia, and Washington. 2 states with medical-only licensing, Pennsylvania and Maryland, also have these social equity programs. But what about eligibility? Who can qualify for these programs? Well, it depends on the state. As previously mentioned, in some states it applies to people of color such as African Americans, Latinos, and indigenous folks. In other places it includes women, veterans, individuals from impoverished areas, and those formerly incarcerated for marijuana offenses. For example, Vermont's Cannabis Control Board has stipulated that social equity participants must be Black or Hispanic, or they're in community that has historically been disproportionately impacted by cannabis prohibition, and are able to demonstrate to the board that they were personally harmed by that impact. They also could have been incarcerated for a cannabis-related offense or have a family member that has been incarcerated for a cannabis-related offense. New York uses similar language for applicants to increase their state's racial, ethnic, and gender diversity. However, they also include those who qualify as a minority or women-owned business, a distressed farmer, or a service-disabled veteran. Such initiatives must be extended to all those that need them most. Only by continuing to assess the impact and effectiveness of each state's social equity program will we see any kind of long-term benefits in market share equity for people of color and other historically disadvantaged communities. Now let's get into what states with these programs actually offer applicants. All states with such programs offer waived or reduced application and licensing fees to lower the barrier to entry for social equity applicants. Some states, such as California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, New York, and Virginia, actually give financial aid to eligible entrepreneurs, with loans and grants to help them get their business off the ground. For example, California's Cannabis Equity Grants program for local jurisdictions gave $15 million to 10 different cities in an effort to increase enfranchisement for individuals who were formerly convicted of marijuana charges. The social equity aid will be used to finance, waive, or reduce fees and provide technical support for business operations. If you have potential eligibility as a social equity candidate, then these programs are definitely worth looking into. While some states have certainly done little to streamline the application process to get approved, others actually offer support to expedite the process for social equity candidates. Consider looking into your local city or state program to see what they offer. Most government marijuana control board websites have somewhat specific information about what kind of fee reductions, financial support, and opportunities they have to offer. Chances are other social equity applicants have tried to do something similar. Reach out to the Minority Cannabis Business Association, usually called the MCBA, or the Licensed Education Assistance Program, also known as LEAP, from the cannabis consumer goods company Green Thumb. Such resources may be able to provide information or assistance for your specific situation. Still, many argue that these programs have fallen short. There are increasing plans to include more social equity requirements and support programs into state cannabis statutes, but many are bogged down in legal challenges, bureaucratic red tape, and logistical errors. According to the MCBA, social equity programs have not done enough. You don't have to dig deep to see that most of the money being made from legal cannabis sales is primarily going to a far less diverse group of well-established businessmen. The MCBA blames a lot of the problems on the lack of race-based social equity requirements among state marijuana laws and policies. In other words, there just isn't enough emphasis on getting Black, Latino, and Indigenous folks into the industry. So what's next for social equity programs? Some cities and municipalities with more progressive local governments have taken matters into their own hands in an effort to close the gaps between social equity candidates and corporate cannabis. The city of Denver, for instance, signed a bill into law that provides social equity applicants with exclusive access to medical and retail marijuana manufacturing licenses and medical and retail marijuana transporter licenses until July 1st, 2027. Similarly, Portland, Oregon has made a push to make their city more equitable by hiring social advocates to lead their social equity and education development program and oversee grant dispersal. The most effective way that states will see a tangible increase in diversity and equity will be by implementing laws that are similar to such examples in Denver and Portland. In addition, setting aside large amounts of state-raised capital to provide adequate funding for minority entrepreneurs will actually make a real difference in closing the barrier to entry for those that deserve it. New York has proposed a $200 million fund for POC cannabis entrepreneurs that is still in the works. Hopefully the plan will lead to an increase in opportunities. And to be sure, there have been some success stories that are worth mentioning. Premium Cultivators THC Design are women-owned through a social equity license from Los Angeles County. They also extend such progressive energy through their community. Another great example is Oakland native and lifelong entrepreneur Alfonso Tucky Blunt Jr. In the early 2000s, he was arrested for possession with intent to sell. Years later, in 2017, he was approached by a fellow business friend who told him about the social equity opportunities for formerly convicted weed offenders. By November of 2018, Tucky opened Blunts & More, Oakland's first Black-owned dispensary. We plan to cover a lot more dispensary-related content on our channel, so keep an eye out for new videos and subscribe to get updates when one comes out. Our dispensary POS solution is second to none in the industry, so click below for more info on that and to schedule a demo with our team. Thanks for watching today, and hopefully this was a solid intro to an encouraging topic.